Welcome back to the Cal Park Bros podcast. Jason and I are are done blowing up our egos related to body image. You know what? After the last 15 months, I think everybody needs to be gassed up a little bit. Come on now. I don't care if you're hitting the gym or not. I think everybody needs a little bit of an ego boost. So, um, in this segment, since it is Father's Day weekend coming up, Jason, I know we wanted to talk about TV and movie dads that we loved, or in some cases hated. I can't really think about a TV or movie dad that I hated. I can only think about ones that I loved, really. Um, what are some movie and TV dads that come to mind when you think about somebody that that really defined a good TV or movie dad to you?
So, as I'm sure you did too, definitely watched a lot of TV growing up, um, and most of which was like sitcoms or family sitcoms. So, definitely had a good plethora of TV dads um, to watch. And again, we're the same age, so I'm sure you're watching some of these same shows, and I'm sure some of the names I mentioned are going to be same for you. I got a bunch of them, unfortunately, but I think the two that I'd say the two on my list that I'd say that I can almost guarantee will be on yours as well would be Philip Banks from Fresh Prince of Bel Air, Uncle Phil, and Carl Winslow from Family Matters. I look at those two as when we were growing up, which was really convenient in the 90s, that those are two probably shining examples of black fathers on black sitcom shows that were, I believe, were pretty iconic even to people outside of the black community. Um, in both cases, they were loving fathers or uncles. In the cases of Uncle Phil, always full of life lessons from the show, even when presented from a comedic standpoint or when they presented serious shows with serious content. Uh, in Carl Winslow's Family Matters case, that being based in Chicago, that added another wrinkle to it when it comes to, me feeling like, okay, this is, I can feel the story, black family, Chicago, um, two parent home. And that's another thing that about those two shows. They're actually examples of two parent homes of a black family. And I think that's important there and stands out to me. Also, my list of shows that kind of stand out when it comes to iconic TV dads. Can't go without mentioning Al Bundy, from Married with Children, Dan Connor from Roseanne. Also, two other shows also based in the Chicagoland area or Illinois. So definitely had that closeness to me as well. Um, One of my favorite books growing up, which also I enjoyed the movie as well, was To Kill a Mockingbird. And the dad in that, Atticus Finch. Um, One thing I liked about the book, but him as a dad in particular, this, is in the South. Obviously, he's a white male lawyer and attorney, but that was a good example of someone like him being I'd say, a social justice warrior, you know. But also, he was a single dad raising two kids, a boy and a girl. Um, Now, of course, like a lot of single dads, I'm sure they do what they can to help raise a little girl to be a little girl. But, his daughter was a tomboy, but things like that. But he still did the best he could, also providing life lessons to both kids, son and daughter. So he's another good example as well. Uh, and of course, iconic dads aren't just in the live, you know, form either. You got to mention cartoon dads, Homer Simpson, right? Come on now. You got, he worked a job he hated and wasn't very good at, by the way, either. A job he hated, wasn't very good at, but he did it for his family that he loved, even though he liked to choke his son all the time. Still, still a loving dad, wanted the best for his family. So definitely that there. Um, to that same ilk, Peter Griffin, man. I mean, somebody a little more recent than that, but I think he's gotten to the point now where he's definitely an iconic TV dad, probably for different reasons, for all his shenanigans as a husband and a father to two kids, because Meg doesn't count, of course. Um, and then the last two on my list are George Lopez from the George Lopez Show. That's, again, obviously not a black family, but still a minority family, growing up from very humble beginnings from George as a kid in the show. But then obviously he grew up, overcame his situation when it comes to not having a father, having a very underwhelming mother, but he grew up, got the high school sweetheart, loving kids, son, daughter, made it as well. And lastly, probably an iconic show for most people, Full House, Danny Tanner, played by Bob Saget. You got to admire that role for Bob Saget because he was a very dirty comic, but he was a neat freak of a dad on the show, raising three
A lot of
girls.
people don't
Yeah.
know that though, Jason. There's an entire community of people that have no fucking clue that Bob Saget literally curses more than we do on Cow Park Bros.
Well, whoa. Once again, you're putting that tag on me. I think all the complaints about people cussing too much was you. So don't put that on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't put that on me. But who are some of your iconic dads, sir?
Um, I'm kind of mad you picked off Al Bundy because I definitely loved Married with Children as a kid. Um, Uncle Phil, you man it, you for Carl Winslow. My favorite bit that he did on Family Matters was the 1, 2, 3. What the heck is bothering me? Like the dad that has just had enough of everybody's shit, but he realizes that he's literally gonna blow a gasket. And so he's trying to like meditate and calm himself down. It's one of my favorite Family Matters bits regarding Carl Winslow, the dad. Um, I'm gonna I'm gonna go with something people didn't see coming. Red from that '70s show. Red absolutely loves his kids, but he can definitely come off as very stern and gravelly and gruff and perhaps abrasive. And perhaps some of that resonates with me as a father who loves all of his children dearly, but periodically realizes that boots need to go to asses periodically. So definitely love Red Foreman. Granddad from Boondocks. I consider him to be a father figure. So um, when we talked about this in our production meeting, one dad that I thought about that was a little unconventional, uh, another Ed O'Neill reference, Dutch. Do you remember the movie Dutch, Jason?
I do also somewhat based around Chicago. I do remember that. It has its good points, things I still remember. I actually, after we talked about that yesterday, I actually added that to my watch list on like Netflix or whatever it was. So thank you for that, Terrence.
Yeah, man. Dutch was the MVP, especially with that big ass ring. So put that big ass dent in old boy's forehead. So some of my other favorite dads, Liam Neeson and
D- d-
Taken.
Bro, I think in all these dads we've mentioned, I think you had to put him up there with the best dads. I mean, this guy went to other countries killing people in order to find his daughter and get him back. And he promised old boy on the phone, said, "Hey, I'm coming for you." Old boy said, "Good luck." Like, no, you're gonna need luck because I'm coming. Does not that I'm endorsing violence again or encouraging anybody to kill people, but there's a lot of people that talk a lot of trash. And I know it's just a movie, but in all these iconic TV dads and movie dads, again, he went to other countries killing people to get his daughter back, and to also to avenge his ex-wife too. So yeah, he's up there. Yeah. I'm sorry. Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack that listing there, but yeah, best
No, no,
dad. He's up there.
you didn't hijack it, and Liam Neeson definitely would have taken care of you if you would have tried to hijack it. So, Jason, don't sweat it. No, these are some great TV dads that we love. Oh, my last one was going to be Superman's dad, Jor-El. Marlon Brando came through, crushed the buildings, given all sorts of Kryptonian bars from the beyond. Definitely one of my favorite movie dads.
And to that, just like yesterday, I say that, well, if we're going to bring up Jor-El, Superman's dad, how many other superhero dads we got to bring up? I mean, I'm just saying, there's some other good superhero dads, just in the Marvel franchise alone.
Well, just name them.
Well, we have Thor's dad. He came back and spoke to him from the grave, just like Superman's dad. Same thing.
I mean,
Black.
Odin's son. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. Odin. Then you got Black Panther's daddy. Same thing. He was talking to him from behind the grave as well. So don't be just singling out Superman's dad just because you like Superman. I'm just saying. Don't be hating on Black Panther and and Thor.
Wow.
I guess Loki from that same matter too. By the way. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't watched Loki yet on Disney Plus, make sure you do that.
I'm finally caught up on WandaVision, and I finally watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I guess I'm in a good place to pivot to Loki within the next week or so.
And not to get off track, but definitely I think we should talk about that, the next direction of Marvel movies, because they got some things coming up, not just on Disney Plus, but actually in the theaters. But again, that's for a different show. We'll stay on topic.
Yeah. So yeah, speaking, yeah, Marvel is basically everybody's daddy with the amount of money that they're going to continue to make. So happy Father's Day to the Marvel universe. But yeah, there's definitely been some great TV and movie dads and some memorable characterizations. Oh yeah, listen, you can't have the Christmas Vacation rant without one Clark Griswold. I mean, God bless that man, Chevy Chase. That was an iconic role, and I can relate to somebody basically doing anything in his power to impress his family, and then to almost the point of lunacy. Um, and at the end of the day, he just had to say, "Pass the Tylenol."
Yeah, I mean, the man he broke his neck and went through everything to get his family to go to amusement park, only for it to be closed. He took his family on a European trip. All the shenanigans that happened there. He wanted the best for his family when it comes to a Christmas vacation. Even took his family to Vegas. Vegas. So I'd say definitely he's up there with the great dads of movie and TV. And of course, again, from Chicago, Clark Griswold. So hey, does it get better than that?
Damn, we were very Chicago centric in this Father's Day rendition of the Cal Park Bros podcast, and we didn't even really talk about pizza. So
Does it surprise anybody that that's what we want to talk about? I mean, obviously there wasn't the intention, but again, Chicago, of course, is going to have a big influence on us when it comes to the things we like and sometimes the things we loathe.
yes, very true. True, very true words from my co-host Jason. Well, Jason, I think this is a perfect time to pivot to our, you know, Father's Day tribute. So I'll let you take it away. What's your thoughts on to the fathers that matter that you're thinking of during this weekend?
Yeah, absolutely, man. As we mentioned before, this Sunday, the June the 20th, is Father's Day. And of course, we had to do one. We did a Mother's Day tribute about a month or so ago, so we had to, do the same thing for dads. I do want to say that I do think in this country, for whatever reason, and I get it, it shouldn't be that Mother's Day gets a lot more attention than Father's Day does. And I think that's very unfortunate. Um, not that mothers don't, but fathers do play a special role in the lives of their children. And I know there's a lot of mothers out there who say they're playing both roles, and I get that part as well. But I do think whether it's a daughter or a son, I think a male father, plays an important role when it comes to that, and it cannot be replaced. And I think any single mom of boys will tell you that same thing. They can try all they want, but it's not the same. So, with that being said, I do have to bring up and shout out my own dad, Delano Ross Jr. I did grow up in a two-parent home. My parents got eventually, separated, got divorced or whatever. Still, both parents are always in my life, still are to this day. And I think that is a great shining example to me of if I ever did have a family, that's how to raise them. Make sure you're there for your children. whenever they need something from you, or sometimes when they want something. And I can definitely say that for both my parents, especially my dad, Delano. Um, I think this is probably the case for a lot of dads. They were looked at sometimes to be the disciplinarian of the family. I think, it's like if you messed up at school or started cutting up, you get home and your mom find out about it, and the classic line would always be, "Wait till your dad gets home," you know. Um, and I will say from my house, that was the same thing. Not the same that my mom didn't whoop me sometimes too. She'll deny that she ever did, but we know she did. But dad was definitely one to not spare the rod. He did not do that. Um, but at the same time, that's a good thing because it did teach me discipline. You know, not necessarily was I scared of dad, but I respected dad, and I still do to this day. Um, my dad's a very logical individual, and I didn't learn that until I got a little older, teenage years. I learned he was very logical, and that rubbed off on me as well. My dad is very logical, a lot of common sense, and that rubbed off on me as well. And I definitely want to thank my dad for all those life lessons he gave when it comes to things logical, give me all that common sense. In a way, I also think he helped me be street smart as well. Even though I moved away from Chicago, at the end of my teenage years and haven't lived there since, I I still think my streetwise that I do have, no offense to mom, but I think came a lot from my dad. Um, I think with him growing up in Chicago, that's an aspect of life that he was able to provide when it comes to that logic and general awareness, and also just how to be a man. You know, um, so definitely kudos to him for that. Love you, Pop. I can't thank you enough for all of that. Um, Lots of lessons there. Um, Pivoting to some of the other dads in my family, my brother Delano, he is a parent. Delano the third, he's a parent now. Uh, Definitely, obviously, younger in the spectrum of his fatherly life, but definitely, from what I can tell, he's doing a good job. His daughter seems to be on her way to being a great, fine young woman. Um, so I encourage you, Delano, to keep going. I know sometimes things aren't easy being a dad. Um, but keep going, bro. I want you to do well because we want her to do well as well. So keep up. And even though the role of a father is equally as important to their sons, in some ways, I think it is maybe even more important when it comes to being that role for their daughters. And that's one thing I strive and hope for my brother to maintain, is to be a good example for this young woman going out into the world, that she bases her opinion on men based off of the good example my brother provides. So again, keep going there. A few more shout outs here. Terrence, of course, I can't go without mentioning yourself as well. Um, yeah, dude. In your aspect, I'd say that obviously you know you play the role of dad in two different ways. Obviously, taking care of your own biological child as well, but also playing the good father role to two children who aren't your blood, but you don't treat them any differently because of it. And there's many fathers out there that play that same role, and it's equally as important as well, no matter what's going on with their actual biological dad. And that's not just Terrence's situation, but any situation there. So definitely an important role. And from what I can tell from the feedback I've seen with my own eyes, you play the role well. And I also can encourage you to keep going with that, bud. It's very much appreciated. You're raising two great daughters and also a great son. Um, so again, keep going, bud. You're doing great, and it's very impressive and appreciated by me. So keep going. Lastly, the other dads in my family, some of my cousins and uncles, my uncle Donnie, my uncle Charlie, my cousin Ted, cousin Byron, cousin Tommy, cousin Jared, cousin Justin. Again, happy Father's Day to you guys all. Um, you guys are all great dads in all your special ways, and it's very much appreciated. And again, just keep going. You know, I know it's not always easy being a dad. Not that I'm speaking from personal experience, of course, but I know. I definitely get it. So your roles are very much appreciated as well. to keep being those good dads you are, keep doing the best you can, and everything's going to be all right. So, and last but not least, I mentioned before Mrs. Abito for Mother's Day. I can't go without mentioning Mr. Abito as well. Um, Mr. Abito, he was definitely kind of the laid back, relaxed dad, from my buddy Fabrizio. He always seemed pretty calm, and there was a little bit of a language barrier between me and him. But I could always tell that whenever he was delivering a lesson to one of his three kids, or all three of them, that you can tell he was delivering it with lots of care. Um, but at the same time, though, when he got mad, you can tell he wasn't afraid to hold back and let it out and say, "Hey, this is how you messed up, and I'm gonna let you know about it right now." So, and with me being over there at Abito's house as much, I was able to see a lot of that. And but now, obviously, I wasn't their child, but just being able to see that additional example of good fatherly parenting going on from somebody else's parents, that almost confirmed the great job that was being done by my dad to say, okay, my dad's handling his business this way. My best buddy's dad's handling it that way. I know something's going on right. So hopefully you're listening to this, or hopefully Fabrizio's listening and he'll share the message. But Mr. Abito, thank you for everything you've done for me in all the years that I lived next door to you, in the Chicagoland area. Thank you, and happy Father's Day to everybody I just mentioned, including my own dad. Again, Dad Delano Ross Jr., happy Father's Day.
Amen, brother. Yeah, I am going to try and keep mine a little shorter. Um, for my father-in-law, for my brother-in-law, for my uncles. Um, I hope you guys have a great Father's Day. The men in my life have definitely modeled, in some ways, some semblance, some blueprint, some building block of how I envisioned fatherhood. Um, and um, I'm going to start with my dad, because my dad and I didn't see eye to eye on everything when he was living, and God rest his soul. But I still think about him quite a bit, actually, especially around Father's Day and his birthday. And I think about when people die, we do this weird thing where we romanticize them or we demonize them. And I definitely have lived in both realms since my father's passing in 2008. But now, as I am a father of three, or three and a half, if you count this dog, I think just as I have a very healthy sense of self regarding how I feel at 41, I also feel like I have a healthy sense of what my father was like as a man. And when I can think about, oh, wow, there were certain things that he did for Jennifer and I, like picking up payday. On payday, he would pick up like a 10 sack from White Castle. Like, I was so fixated on, when he passed away, I was so fixated on all the things that in my mind he didn't do right. I also proceeded to ignore all the things that he did that were exemplary. And with my oldest going to be 18 very soon, um, it has really gotten me really emotional, guys, because it makes me think about, okay, time is precious. And as a father, you have to seize the moment, because your time with your children before they turn 18 is not long. 10 years ago, I thought I had fucking forever for Gabrielle. The reality is she's going to be an adult, you know, by definition, um, a little over a year. So you don't have time. You have the illusion of time. And my suggestion to any parent is to make a use of that time and to appreciate the small moments and the big moments, and to not worry about all the shit that you think you're doing wrong. And I think if my dad were here, I would tell him that, number one, I love him. Even though we didn't always see eye to eye, that Dad, I love you. And that you did a lot of little things right. And I'm going to try to model those things. So, Phil Brown, I would like to thank you for these ridiculously good looks, this medium brown skin, this one hell of a sarcastic sense of humor. Also, this hairline. Ugh. But I just want to know that I love you. And I'm glad that you and Catherine met all those years ago, because I think you produced two pretty badass kids. And I think you'd be proud of the man that you raised. I really think you would be. And so I think that is my lesson, or rather my feedback from Father's Day, is just to cherish the moment and cherish today, because tomorrow's not promised to anybody, and your kids are going to be grown before you know it, and that childhood, you only get one shot at it. So don't worry about all the little shit. Appreciate the small victories, and cherish that time with your kiddos. So that's all I got, my man. Again, thank you, brother, for you've seen a lot of shit with me as a dad, so I appreciate just even making the cut and your final thoughts on this. So, all right, that concludes segment 3, and that also concludes episode 9 of the Cal Park Bros podcast. Jason, you have any final thoughts before we take off for tonight?
Guys, as always, definitely got to thank you for listening. We see that you continue to listen, and even more so with each episode. We do appreciate that. Thank all the listeners listening, no matter what country you're from, whether you're from this one, whether you're over in Europe, other countries in North America, or for anybody that listens to us beyond those. Again, we always do thank you there. Hopefully, in that time frame that you've been listening, you've noticed the growth of the show, the growth of me and Terrence as well. Some of the changes we've made, and also be aware of the ones we may make in the future, there are some things coming. Also, just make sure you do follow us on social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We are there under Cal Park Bros. Send us any feedback, any questions, comments, concerns, topic ideas to calparkbros@gmail.com. Also, on our Anchor page, there's a way that you can send us a voice message that we can be played on the show. You probably heard some examples of that the last few episodes. And if you think you can do better than that, submit something to us. Make sure you keep it clean and appropriate, and we'll definitely try to get you on the air. Also, to find that, there's a pinned post at the top of our Facebook page. It's there. Follow the link, go there, submit the message, and we'll get you on. Lastly, I got to throw it out there as well. As you know, make sure you like us, love us, follow us, share us. I'll say how I want, Terrence, but if you like us, why wouldn't you? Terrence, take it away.
Amen, brother. All right. That concludes episode 9. Thank you for listening to the Cal Park Bros podcast with your hosts, Terrence and Jason. And this is Cal Park Bros signing off.
Peace out, y'all.